So how do you release your emotions? So over the past 12 years of doing this work, I've seen a number of tools and techniques of helping you get in touch with your feelings. However, I've noticed that the majority of them carry a kind of sort of basis. There's certain principles that you need to adhere to in order to effectively release your emotions. And on my website, I discuss sort of four stages, should I say, to releasing your emotions. The first stage is the awareness of the emotion itself. Without actually knowing the emotion exists and being honest with yourself that you are actually experiencing a feeling, then it's very difficult to start the process of feeling your emotions. So awareness itself is the key, but together with that comes the responsibility that the emotion is yours. Because as soon as you say that someone else is responsible for how you feel, then they must change in order for you to feel better. So you're basically then relying on your external world to change, whether it's the person or the circumstance. If you take 100% responsibility for that emotion, then you can fully begin the process of allowing that emotion to start moving within you. However, if you say someone else is responsible for the way you feel, for the emotion inside of you, you can never ever fully release it. So when we are expressing our emotion out at someone, blaming them for how we feel, you're not able to release that emotion. And this is a really key understanding for you to take, because if we're shouting, and a lot of people say, if you can express your emotion at someone, then that is releasing it. And you may be allowing that energy to move to a certain degree, but expressing your emotion at someone does not release it, because you're basically blaming them for how you feel. So you cannot fully release it. What you must do is take that understanding that this is your responsibility. And you may initially start off with perhaps, this is only really my 10%, but the rest of it is definitely theirs. This is 10% my or 15% my responsibility. But as you do this work, you will begin to take more and more responsibility. You'll take 15%, then 20%, then 30, 40, 50%. And eventually you should take 100% responsibility. And that is when you really start to feel the emotion move. I haven't yet got to that stage where I'm taking 100% responsibility all the time for how I feel. The mind is still projecting, and that's okay. So the first step is awareness. The second step is actually acceptance. And acceptance is pretty much just accepting the fact that the emotion exists. It's there. It's you're not in a state of resistance, because usually when you're not accepting, there's a form of resistance, and that form of resistance could come in the form of your mind, the thoughts that you're having, or in your body, the way your body's contracting. Because whenever our body contracts and we feel tightness and tension in our muscles, then that is basically a sign that you're not allowing the feeling to be processed. Contraction actually keeps the feeling locked. When you relax the muscles, that actually the feeling starts to move in. So start to notice the resistance you have in your body, and that's a really important part. So the first step is awareness. The second step is acceptance. The third step is allowing. So as you start to allow the feeling to move, then it starts to move of its own accord. And you can do this by taking the observer standpoint, where you are not actually in the feeling. You're the observer, just observing the feeling, because ultimately that's what we are. We're the awareness which is observing every part of our lives. We're the awareness that's observing our thoughts, the awareness that's observing our bodies. We're all of that, and yet in a way we're we're really, it's not really something, it's very difficult to explain, but we're just the awareness. So if you can stay in that place, just being aware of your feelings and taking the observer viewpoint, then that allows the feeling to be processed. And the final step isn't really a step, but it just happens automatically, and that's alleviation or the release. Or some people call it integration. I actually like the term integration because it means becoming more whole. But I also use alleviation because it's, for me, you know, it's awareness, acceptance, allowance, and alleviation, all A's. So once you're in that state, then it basically, the release just happens and you feel lighter, you feel happier. The thing to understand that all this is happening in the present moment. If you're stuck in thoughts, it's very difficult to allow each of those steps. If you're constantly thinking, you're not in the present moment. The most effective time of releasing, integrating, or alleviation is in the present moment. And if you can stay in the present moment, you can experience the energy move in your body in an amazing way. So I just wanted to share that, the 4 steps of releasing your emotions: awareness, acceptance, allowance, and alleviation.